As part of this project, the unit on location photography, you're going to have to make a picture which includes 3 or more people, so group pictures. So I'm going to get you to do some research today on group pictures, but I also want you to think about making your own group pictures. So those that are coming in on Monday, we will make some group pictures together. The rest of you will need to organise something with family and friends or whoever's around in your bubble or whatever it is these days. So group pictures. So traditional group picture, you think the school class picture or the football team picture, where you've got 3 rows of people sat down, people stood up, people stood on chairs. And it's a traditional group picture. It's the way it's been done for years, but it's boring. We're not looking for something like that. We want something a little bit more interesting. A lot of these slides in here are going to be including my own pictures, and this is one of my own pictures. This is a group of school teachers at a school where I was asked to go and photograph for the company that supplied the IT support to that school. And this was a meeting of teachers about the IT work, and I made a group picture. It's a typical commercial type group picture. This one I found on the internet. This is another company of people. When you come into the college, as you come in, when you go and face the thermometer, on the left of that thermometer camera thing is a group picture of all of the staff that was taken a couple of years ago at the college. It's quite typical. Usually involves the photographer getting some height, people bunching up, and then the photographer's looking down on them. Quite commonly used in wedding photography. So this one is one of my pictures, and here I'm in a high place looking down on the group. It's quite a small picture for you to be able to see all the faces, but the faces are all there. The alternative to that is to arrange people onto steps so you can get the height that way. This is another of my wedding pictures. So you can vary the heights of the people so you can see people's faces. Which is what the first picture we looked at, that's what that was all about, but it was done in a little bit boring way. What I find interesting though is groups that are carefully thought through and arranged. So Neil Slavin is an American photographer. Neil, Neil, Slavin, Slavin. Look him up. He's American, but he's photographed all over the world, and he photographs groups of people that are brought together through an activity or a profession, that sort of thing. This is from a book that he made in the late 80s called Britons. When he came over to the UK, and he went around the UK and he found groups as a group of channel swimmers and arranged groups. His setups can be really quite complicated. This is a behind the scenes photograph. So all the people you see in that picture are his group, but look how he's lit them. It's just like you just need so many lights in there in order to be able to illuminate everybody's face. Very complicated setup. On the other hand, this is one of my pictures, and this is a very simple setup. So this is using light from a barn door, which is open, and they're in open shade. So they've got shade above their heads, but the light is coming in through the door. The girl on the ground is on the ground because she's holding a lamb, but it also makes for an interesting inverted triangle or V shape, which is quite typical in group photography. And that's a little bit more of a fun group picture of a family, which was actually quite evocative of that family's character. So we just had a bit of fun with it. But look, still, heads are all on different heights, different positions. So Vanity Fair kind of led the way with these celebrity group pictures a few years ago. And it's filtered this, the style of arranging group pictures has filtered its way into lots of photographers' work, commercial photographers, wedding photographers, and the way they work. I think principally this was Annie Leibovitz, and Annie Leibovitz is not shy of Photoshop. So I think you might find, if you look into this in depth, that these pictures, these people were not necessarily all together at the same time, and some had been photoshopped in and stripped in different places. I think that's less true of this one. I think these were probably all in the same space at the same time. You can kind of tell, but if you do a little bit of investigation when you go off and do your exercise now, look up how Annie Leibovitz makes group pictures, how Vanity Fair pictures were made, and you might find there's quite a lot of Photoshop involved. It's worth a look. And this is another of the Vanity Fair things. Interestingly, the head heights is a subtle thing on this picture, but it's still important. If you imagine a grid, I'm going to take you to the next picture, which is another Vanity Fair. If you imagine a grid drawn over this picture with upright lines and cross lines, what you want to try and avoid is two heads on any of the same lines. So sometimes it's just impossible. So if you look at the people on the end, I'm afraid I'm not very good at remembering names of actors and things, but the guy with the bald head, who I think was in Star Trek, and the girl sitting next to him on the edge of the sofa, their head is on the same line, and almost Judi Dench's head is on that line as well, but not quite. Also, if you look at the girl sitting on the floor and the guy with his jacket around his shoulders, they're on the same upright line. It is to be avoided, but it's not a, it's not something that is not going to fail the course or something like that on it. It's just something that group pictures look better if you keep heads on separate lines. Try not to put two heads on the same line. And sometimes that can be quite subtle. So the Judi Dench and the Star Trek guy is subtly different, and enough so to make it okay. And then this is another of the Vanity Fair pictures, where again I think this is probably a little bit of Photoshop involved. But what's interesting in this is the tonal values of this. So she's kept all the tones the same. She's kept them in the same coloured dresses. And kept the backgrounds and props on a similar tonal level. So that Vanity Fair stuff has inspired a lot of other photographers to work in similar ways. And this is an image by the looks of it from, I'm going to guess they're a law firm or something. It's not one of my pictures, it's one I found on the internet. But they're using similar principles. So they're keeping the space between them. They're making the poses slightly different. The commonality is that they're all looking into camera, but they're in slightly different poses. Each person, heads are on different lines on the grid. It works as a picture. I think the only thing for me, I'm a little bit disturbed by the space between the last guy on the stairs and the first guy on the floor. I would have probably brought that guy with his hands in his pockets a little bit closer to the steps, because it looks like two pictures. So wedding photographers start doing this as well, and some do it better than others. And this, for me, is one that I found which isn't very successful. The bride looks as though she's not important enough to be a bride. She's leaning back. She's on the end. She really needs to be leaning forward somehow, and she needs to be more foreground. The little girl next to the bride, she's got her feet sticking out towards the camera. Then there's also far too close a crop line between that girl and the girl at the back. It's also using too wide a lens. If you look, the people sitting at the back on the bed, look tiny compared to the people at the front. So the perspective is all wrong. Also, I think that the child laying down on the bench is an odd pose. I don't think that works particularly well. She's just flat and straight and not good. And it's just not a great example of that sort of image. This is one of my wedding pictures, and for this, the priority was the spacing. So I realised I wanted to put people together that were together, and I wanted space between them so that you could have some sense of the relationships. It's a wedding picture, obviously, and the children with the guys are the children of those guys. So it kind of works from that point of view. This one again, I think, is a nice one. The tonality is nice, is because everything is kept on in the same key, and it seems to work well from my point of view. It's a business portrait again, and they're actually using crates boxes there. Some are sitting, some are standing. It's well organised. The heads are on the right levels. It works really well. This again works really well from the tonality point of view. Everybody's on the different levels. The girl in the very front and the girl leaning against the wall are not looking at the camera, which is fine. I think I quite like that. I think it works really well. What do you think? And finally, this is the last one I'm going to leave you with. This is a black and white version, and this is using scaffolding. Interesting lighting here, because the lighting, there's a lot of light coming in through the back window, and so they've gone into a high key lighting situation there. But the tones in the clothing and hair color and stuff is very low key. So they've made a quite high contrast image there. So normally, if you're working with low key, high key, you'd keep all the tones in the picture the same. So a high key picture, you'd ask people to be wearing white or light colours, and a low key picture, you'd be getting people to wear dark colours. Right. So I'll come back to you and we'll talk about what you need to do.